fifth meeting of the Glens Falls Planning Board. We will welcome our new member, Mr. Reed. To begin this evening's meeting, other than that, the discussion of approval of the minutes from January 6th, 2025. Planning Board. Any comments?
Audio. Audio. Save, US digital audio. Audio 3.
Second? Thank you. All in favor? Very good. Okay, under old business,
I received an email. Request to withdraw the application, withdraw the project. They're reviewing alternatives to hopefully address paving the entire paved street. So
this is SD 24-0002.
Yep, that's number 2. And then I also received an email today from Matthew Webster, who is representing the applicant for subdivision 24-007. And he is also emailed us to formally request to withdraw the application at this time. They have not been to the zoning board of appeals, and they need to do that first. So both old business are withdrawn.
Thank you. So we'll move down to new business. First item is request for chapter 220-27, subpart 13, paragraph 8, rehearing. Graylock Self-Storage Facility, MCP, Glens Falls Properties, LLC, owners of tax map numbers 309.27-6-1 and 2 and 309.35-1-9, commonly known as 79 Broad and 8385 Broad Street. Pursuant to City of Glens Falls Code, Chapter 220-27, Section 13 and D. Whereas the planning board is rehearing the approved site plan, the applicant is seeking planning board review and approval to modify the previous conditions imposed by the planning board. Those being, number 1, that the applicant must install slats in the 6-foot chain link fence located along the backside of the property abutting Montcalm Street residence to maintain a privacy barrier. I'm not sure whether that's north, south, east, or west, since I have no site plan submitted with this. And the second one, the applicant must install arborvitaes or conifers along the 6-foot chain link fence located along, again, the backside of the property abutting Montcalm Street residence to help maintain a privacy barrier. Is there anyone here representing this application?
Yes, sir.
Would you please step up and state your name and relationship to this application?
Absolutely. How are you today?
Good.
Good. My name is Mike Baleris, MLB Operations. I'm the general contractor for MCP Properties, doing the site development plan for them.
Okay.
And working in conjunction with Environmental Design Partners.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why we requested this to be reheard, my understanding was the approval, the original approval was had the condition on it that there was several arborvitaes to be planted along Montcalm Street and slats in the fence. We have a fence contractor out there. There's really not much to save. So the cost involved to try and do that is prohibitive.
Sure.
So we proposed, and I believe, if I remember correctly, if you go back through the minutes, one of the neighbors, I believe it was Berkowitz, actually requested maybe it'd be better to put a taller fence on his side of the property. So that's...
That being the north side, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
We should have had a site plan of this.
Sure.
Behind the way
Yeah,
there.
This is...
Sure.
Devin Roselle, zoning planning coordinator. So they are using a specific section of the code that allows you guys to simply re-vote to see if they will be heard in a future meeting.
I understand.
So they will, pardon?
Okay, I understand that.
Yes, so they will prepare a site plan if they are approved.
Well, anything that comes before the planning board such as this requires a site plan. Because otherwise, how is anybody to know what we're talking about, where it is?
We're not evaluating the content of what he's proposing, we're voting on whether or not it gets to be reheard.
There'd be another meeting where there would actually be the substance to pay the contractor to do it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. So,
Very good. Just in, I guess, summation, that's what we're looking to get reheard, and we'll have, you know, whatever updated site plan would be necessary. Make sure you guys have all that to review ahead of time, with as much time as possible, and hopefully it's granted. It's definitely well worth the improvements to the property, but there's some changes that have just been really cost prohibitive. If you look in the letter from Devin, it had noted our request also. In particular referenced the front ornamental fence that was slated to be part of that project. The cost involved for it, we'd like to see it just green space without having to install that ornamental fence. We will have it on the left side, enclosing the area where the new storage units are to be constructed, but on the right side, we think it would look great and it would help our budget if we didn't have to have that. So,
That's the area where the pods are now?
yes, and those pods will be either consolidated into the existing storage units or moved off-site. So, you know, it's our goal, as it is with the cities, to make sure that this property looks as good as possible for our resale and for the community, you know.
got it?
Yeah, that's all I have, sir.
Okay. Any members of the public care comment on this application? If not, we'll proceed with our architectural consultant.
I have no architectural comments on this.
Comments from the planning board. Start with Mr. Landry.
Well, you clarified there, like I say, you're talking about eliminating the ornamental fence along on the right-hand west side of the property
Yes, sir.
for that. All right. And then also there was something, I was just trying to find it here real quick, the discussion about the fence in the back, the 6-foot fence you can't see, it's overgrown, and it was actually, and there was talk about putting arborvitae's in front of that, and there was a proposal to put in an 8-foot high vinyl fence.
Yes,
As a
sir.
substitute, okay,
It's my understanding that code allows for an 8-foot fence
Right.
In that area,
right,
and particularly the 8-foot fence on the back of what would be, I guess, half of the property, which is where
Right.
the new units are going to be constructed.
right.
So that prevents any view from Bergwood. So we'd like to have the 8-foot fence in lieu of any arborvitae's or
Right.
additional fencing requirements. What's currently behind the 79 Broad Street
Right.
facility right now, those owners have had that with that overgrown fence for
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
the better part of 30, 40 years, I imagine, if not longer.
Okay.
We would, you know, like to clean that area up and possibly, you know, put another fence in front of it, but we don't want to be hamstrung to it.
okay. And then just one other final question too. In anticipating to seeing the drawings, that's one of our, I mean, I never thought I'd put these words in the same sentence, but at some point, South Street could be one of the nicest streets in the city, all right?
God willing, yeah.
You know, we got a situation that's gonna be, if you come down Hudson Avenue, you see the back of all the buildings in downtown.
Mhm.
When you're gonna come down South Street now, you're gonna see the front of buildings. And this goes back to when I was a kid, my father owned buildings, and he always called the back of the buildings really the front of the buildings for strangers. One concern I have is that we're putting a metal storage facility in the entrance to our city, and even if you could take on any of, I'm trying to remember what the plan looked like, but any of the front of one of the buildings that runs parallel to the street in the front by the ornamental fence, if you, because it's not that big an area, if you could put brick or something on it, just to dress up that little bit of a face of the project. Because I know all the other buildings are behind that, but as you drive down and you look to the left, you know, whatever you could do to the front of that one building, I think would help.
Sure.
You know, and coming up 3-4 feet with brick or something like that, I can't imagine it'd be that expensive.
Yeah, so we actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's slated and we have pricing that we're working into the budget right now for architectural stone panels, halfway up the
Yeah.
building facade,
Yeah.
all the way across the front.
Yeah,
You know, that's definitely a possibility. Additionally, if you've seen the front of Greylock Storage, there's, it's not much of an entrance, but it almost looks like a little guard shack
right.
where you enter. We also considered doing some storefront with some commercial glass
Yeah.
to kind of clean that front up as well.
Yeah.
Really make it a showpiece. I mean, Greylock Storage, it's their intentions to make that their flagship,
Beautiful.
you know, so to speak. So anything we can do to, you know,
Yeah.
to make that happen
Okay.
within budgetary constraints, of course.
Yeah.
You know, moving forward.
Well, you get a lot of money to save with that ornamental fence, so you can put it to good use.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, that's it. That's all I got.
Great.
So
Mr. Belvin?
we're going without, the plan is not to have the arborvitae's in front of that fence to, are we gonna do any plantings anywhere on that property now?
So we do have plannings, I believe. I would have to defer with Brandon from EDP and the drawings I don't have in front of me, but there are several requirements for trees for the city on the front of the property and whatever the requirements are for the green space. So, and then with regards to the rear of the property, yes, we are looking to eliminate, because of the cost overrun that for the arborvitae's, we're looking to get approval for strictly the 8-foot vinyl fence to eliminate any concerns for Berkowitz's property that are directly impacted by those new buildings going up. And then, you know, the property that's directly behind the building right now, we, you know, obviously we'd like to be a good neighbor and clean those areas up, but as budget allows.
Right, so we are gonna get some sort of drawings.
Right, this is an application
Yep.
for a rehearing. If you grant the motion for a rehearing, then the applicant will come back with new site plan
That's right.
application.
Okay, so us being constructed, yeah, I can't wait to see the drawings, and I
Great.
don't have a problem with the 8-foot fence.
Look forward to it.
I agree to a rehearing, and then go from there.
Okay.
Mr. Green?
I'll wait for the drawings, because I wasn't here when this whole thing was proposed, so no comment.
Okay, need a motion?
A motion, would it be a motion to rehear?
A
the site
motion
plan?
for a rehearing pursuant to chapter 220-27, section 13B. 20-27, section 13B. A motion for a rehearing and submission of a new site plan.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Site Plan Review, hereby grant a rehearing of Code 220-27, Section 13D for the applicant known as Greylock Self-Storage Facility, MCP Glens Falls Properties, and owners of tax map commonly known as 79 Broad and 83 and 85 Broad Street, as heard at the meeting of February 5th, 2024.
Very good. Have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Great.
Very good.
Thank you very much, and a special thanks to Emily Neal and a few others involved that helped facilitate getting those lots consolidated for us. They made that rather painless.
Very good.
Thanks. Have a great night, y'all.
Thank you. Next, we have sign board review, BP 25-0002. Liberty Graphics at Glens Falls, representing owner of tax map number 202.20-30-4, commonly known as 26 Ridge Street, is seeking sign board review, one sign for Radici Kitchen and Bar. Pursuant to the City of Glens Falls zoning code, chapter 180, section 6A, the application requires sign board review and approval. Is there anyone here presenting this application. Please step forward, state your name and relationship to the application.
Anthony Baker from Liberty Graphics.
Brian Bowden from Radici Kitchen and Bar.
Thank you. Anything you care to discuss or add regarding the application?
Just looking for approval, please. I think, well, I would like to add, it just adds some curb appeal for us. And while we did just celebrate our 5-year anniversary, there's still a lot of people who haven't heard of us. So we're just trying to drive some traffic and business into the restaurant.
Good. We will start with our consultant.
And just, I want to clarify and make sure, Devin, make sure I'm on this right page. What we're looking for is approval for, it's a sign variant, it's approval for what's being considered a third sign on the building, correct?
Yes, this is being considered the third sign on the building. The 2 window signs are also considered affixed to the building, even though they have extra stipulations within our code to the limitations of the window sign. Because they have 2 signs affixed to the building, this would go over the allotted amount of fixed signs allowed, and that is why they are here, simply because it is a third sign to the building.
Thank you.
So my comments had to do with the size, because I didn't realize immediately until Devin followed up that we're talking about a third sign on the building. So, and then I guess, so just to clarify, it's going to have a metal frame around
Yes,
it,
yes.
and then the white lucite that'll be backlit.
Exactly. Yep.
And so during the day it'll be white the way it is in the picture, and then at night it'll be lighted until closing time.
10 p.m. at the latest.
Um,
May I add that sometimes if there's a vehicle parked in front of 26th Street, you can't even see those signs.
I agree.
Thank you.
I have no other comments.
Thank you. I didn't ask members of the public there because I didn't see any others. That's why I passed over here. Thank you. Planning board comments. Start with Mr. Reed.
It looks decent to me. It's not my position to say anything like this, but as a resident, I wish it were ovaled a little more and a little bigger, side to side. Because I have been down through there when cars are parked like crazy and you can't see what's what unless you look up on that very space you're talking about. Looks good to me.
I looked at the rendering, I think it's fine.
Mr. Green?
I agree with Jack, the rendering's fine, the food is fantastic at your restaurant.
Thank you.
It was before you guys got it, and Sean owned it, but
Continuing the tradition.
I've been there many times, it's my wife's favorite place to go.
Thank you.
Just pay the bills.
I brought a gift card.
The short ribs are phenomenal.
Very good. Ms. Murray?
No, I have no objections, I think it will be fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Dawson?
No objections, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
If it helps you be more successful, I don't have an issue.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Landry?
I think it looks good.
Appreciate
Looks
it.
good, no good.
Thank you very much.
Okay. No secret reports?
No secret required.
Okay. Now, we'll need a motion regarding
Sign.
sign review.
I can make a motion. Just find my page. I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Sign Review, approve the sign application for the premises identified as 26 Ridge Street, specifically for the use of the sign as discussed at the meeting of February 5th, 2025.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Green? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Very good.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So that is it for today's agenda. Anybody have anything to discuss, anything to bring up? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Could I have a question though, just for information? You know, when we have these large projects, like a $5 or $10 or $15 million project, would it be appropriate for us to require like a bond from the developer so that they do in fact do what they promised to do, or?
No, so we do site plan review and approval, and then if they don't act on it, right, then it goes away. If they don't act on the site plan review and approval within a certain period of time, their approval actually goes away.
Are you saying?
But what if
are
they
you
build
saying
it,
that
what if they build it?
not to the specs
Not
that they
to
were?
the
Then
specs.
that's
They
an
build it not
enforcement.
to
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's an enforcement issue.
There's probably nothing that's gonna come in front of the board that doesn't require a building permit. And even if it didn't, we still can and do inspections on any project going on. And if they deviate from the site plan in any significant manner, especially conditioned items, specific conditioned items, then we either have them correct it, something like this with Greylock. If there was a major issue and they wanted to rehear it, they can do that. But if they deviate, we could shut the project down, we could shut the building down, and we can bring it to court ultimately. So it'd be code enforcement action.
All right.
Is that after the fact? I mean, can you take, is that compliance that you would inspect, is like the certificate of occupancy contingent on that?
Depending on the circumstance, yes.
Okay.
It was like Chris, the patent project on Washington, when we saw all those drawings, all those AC units on the exterior of that building weren't there.
Right.
You know, and then that was built and,
Yeah, I can definitely look into that project.
Yeah, well, that one's been corrected.
well, he hit it with all the shrubs and
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
but that was
So I know
not,
one of the complaints was the fence.
Yeah.
I did look at the original site plan, and that fence that was there since it was, the school, was on the approved site plan. I know
Yeah,
there were people that had issues with that 12-foot fence, but it was allowed on, or it either wasn't noticed and got approved, or it got approved, because,
what, you mean on the Union Goodwin
yes,
project?
yeah.
Yeah, that fence, I mean, I have a house.
So, like I said, I know there's a couple people who complained about the fence, so, the AC units, like, that project ended right before I started. So the actual construction stuff, I'm not familiar with, but I did look at the site plan.
Because that project, if you think about it, so it was built not according to the drawings that we approved.
Okay.
Because the HVAC units were in there.
Sure, I mean, I can definitely take a look into that if that's.
Well, you know, I'm just saying for like.
Yeah, no, absolutely, like, any project that we're
That's kind of
aware
what
of.
you were.
Yes, yes.
But in the future, you would look at that
Yes.
periodically as they're building, like when he's
Yes.
building his moving and see.
There's a pre-project site plan inspection, and that's for like general grading, if there was requirements for retaining ponds or anything like that. And then, obviously, if there's a deviation, take the 3-5 West Washington project. If he built that 4 feet closer to the curb or something, or built it twice the size, we would catch that, but we do during our final inspection, a final site plan walkthrough.
Good question.
Yeah, thank you.
I got one thing. I talked to the city engineer and he wanted to thank everybody here. He said it makes his job so much easier having that approval from the planning board, for.
That condition that we,
Yeah.
you kind of came up with where we say that it's gotta be.
Yeah, we had that a long time ago. Dan and I had that when we were on the board. We always required the fire department, whoever, the water sewer department, to sign off and get something back to Phil saying it was okay.
That's where it goes to Phil. It doesn't come back to us when we do a
It
condition.
depends on how you condition it.
Okay.
The way that the last one was conditioned was that the applicant must receive approval from the water and sewer engineer or department head. So it was addressed back to the applicant, we got a copy. If you condition it to come to us, or if you condition it to come to you, we can move it around.
From time to time, as part of the conditions, they have to return here with those conditions.
Yep.
When some of the projects that came up when Ethan was, doing both, bringing them to us, he would like you're saying, having the condition in there with the fire department, a lot of times you have that done ahead of time because he was used to doing it, you know. I think it's a great idea.
But it still, you know, gets a load off of us.
Yep.
You know, because we did have a problem down on Warren Street one time with the fire department, and we did question that, Dan remembers. In connection, and they built a wall in front of the fire department connection. And they said we didn't, you know, do research, but we did. We went back through the minutes. And it was in there. You know, we did question what the guy was gonna do, so.
We do provide the packets digitally to almost all the department heads, the council members. We are moving to a new system for the whole department, but one of the way we designed it is during the initial submission, before the applicant first comes to the board, all of the relevant department heads, police, fire, water and sewer, DPW, they have to at least say that they looked at it and they approved it. And then if they have any comments, you folks will be aware of those comments immediately because it's like a intra email system. And for the planning folks, if Jeremy from Water and Sewer says, hey, we have a problem with capacity or we want them to scope it, you folks will know it 2.5, 3 weeks before the meeting.
Good.
And then maybe that could focus your review, you know, before the meeting too. So, and hopefully all the department heads actually use it, but I've had discussions with Jeremy and some initial walkthroughs with him, and he's looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Good.
no, that's great.
One of the big things, like for the fire department, the Bonaccio project, that they just, you know, closed that parking lot, you know, the first to start that was that drive-through that goes to the 30 parking spots behind the building, because the fire truck has to be able to fit through there. You know, so they have access to that side of the building.
Right.
Came up.
One of the, just to verify what you said, I've always been under the impression that we're kind of at the bottom of the funnel, to the fact that by the time it gets to us, like you said, fire and police and water and sewer and zoning and signage and everything else, all that's been done, so by the time it gets here.
Yes, hopefully, and at our next staff meeting, it's going to be discussed, because hopefully the new software will be just about ready here in a few weeks to start using. Yes, that is the hope that the relevant department heads will either say, you know, it's a sign review, all right, yeah, we have nothing, it doesn't matter to us, or if it is Bonaccio's 5-story mixed-use building, hey, this is a problem, hey, that's a problem, or hey, we at least like this condition so it doesn't create a problem. Hopefully, with it, you know, it's going to take time, it's a new process, and I know that my predecessors didn't do the best informing the other departments of what was going on, but you know, within 6 months, hopefully, once we get all the bugs worked out and everyone's used to using it, hopefully there will be a lot more of that communication.
Good, good.
And since there's some new members, does everybody have a copy, complete access to the Glens Falls zoning code?
So you can find
At
it
your
on,
fingertips?
you Google Glens Falls Eco 360, you'll come to that. I'm trying to find out where the bound little books came from. I've just about given up. Seems to be no one knows. And I've been playing tag with the city historian. We're just about the point where we're going to buy some binders and just print it out on a whole bunch of paper.
The city clerk used to have copies, used to have these.
Right, but there's
Yeah, they are required to set both sources, trying to locate how we can get these down and back to the board.
Or where they came from, because they're also little books
But you
too.
should wait, because short-term rentals just got added to all
Oh,
of
that's right.
220. So you might want to wait.
Yes, and it moves through a lot of the codes.
Well, in the interim, I can PDF everybody the references that I use every time I see a project, and if
That'd be
something
good.
comes up, and, you know, I'm gonna go to,
Right, when you get your agenda,
No,
and
then
it
you'll
tells you
have
what
it.
section of the code, Tom, remember that
Right.
website I showed you?
Right, right.
Just go right to that section of the code, your agenda tells you under what section they're using.
And the good thing about the city's website using the E-code system is something like short-term rental, where there is a process, it has to go to the county, it has to be entered in by the state, but as soon as it gets sent to the county, E-code 360 gets updated shortly after, so you'll be aware of any new laws or code changes. As soon as you log in and it officially gets entered, probably before it actually has the power of law, it can be actionable, because it's just going through the administrative process. So that is one benefit of using the website, but I can give a PDF and I can give everyone a link to that, so you can have that. But we will figure out how we're gonna handle the book, and we will get our copies for it as well.
And Code E 360 makes it very clear that you are looking at a new law law.
Yeah.
So if you come across it and it says new law, you can always reach out to Ms. Judd and she can let you know if that has or has not yet taken effect.
Plus, you can just search, like, I know this rehearing hasn't happened very often. 220, 26 or 7, 13, whatever, 13D, if you just type in 227, blah, 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 or take the title of it and paste it in, it'll bring it right to you.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yes, your agenda is a great tool to get you right where you need to be in the code. That's been a pretty decent amount of time trying to make sure that I'm putting you guys right into the thick of where you need to be so that you can conduct your review and vision.
So the only other thing we need at our fingertips is the zoning map, because not everybody
I can
always.
print out zoning maps, but
Well, PDF is fine too, you call it up and then you zoom
I
right
can tell you
in.
the PDF
Yeah.
and the zoning map on paper, they're both incredibly difficult to read.
You're better
can
off
zoom in,
using
zoom
the
in.
Warren County GIS map and putting that layer on,
Yeah.
or just using the Warren County GIS map and clicking on the property and having to tell you what the zone is. Because if you try and take any of the published zoning maps and find a specific property, it can be difficult. It's not, it doesn't have every street labeled.
Well, a lot of the applications, they put their zone
They're
anyway.
supposed to.
They're supposed to, but when they don't, it's a little annoying and then you gotta dig, that's all.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. That was bad.
Yeah, I double check them all the time.
Yeah.
And so you can't read.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Better off doing exactly what Phil and Devin said, go to the GIS and click on the project. The map, you can't read.
Also, Jack, too, somewhat in relation to what he said, I was told, when we had that training up at the county, that we're not allowed to ask about financing. It really has nothing to do
Correct.
with our process.
Who asked that question?
I asked her.
No, but who has the right to ask that question?
The ZBA does during a use variance because you have to prove with competent financial evidence
Okay.
that the return on investment. But other than that, I don't think there's any discussion of finances at this level.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if something's $10
Well,
million.
that's what I was thinking, like-
Yeah, if it's something's $10 million, I'd like to know that
Yeah.
they can finish it.
I would think they'd have to be vetted pretty good as far as banks, because they gotta buy materials, they either gotta pay cash or they're buying it on credit. It doesn't really affect what we
See,
do.
that's just not part of this
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
Period.
Right,
All right.
yeah,
It could be penniless. I hear what you're saying,
yeah.
but you have no authority, no right to ask
Right.
about.
It's just the environment I worked in 40 years,
Yeah.
we had bonds for everything.
Well, you gotta make sure you're gonna get paid. Yeah.
Well, make sure it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't wanna have completed project that sits there.
yeah.
If a project like, let's say, Benoncio's project stopped midway, there's not much that I can do to compel them to continue. I can make them keep it safe, and obviously, if the permit expires, stop them from continuing working unless a new permit's issued. But if they do the basic property maintenance that's required of any other building, and it's 3 1/4 stories, and some of it's just bare steel and decking or whatever, I really can't say, hey, you started this, you gotta finish it. I mean, that's,
There's no completion date where they can start
That's
getting
between them and
fined.
their lenders.
yeah, exactly. There's not much that we can do. I mean, certain municipalities require escrow or bonds or whatever, but even then, I mean, if you're in a $15 million project, you have a $10,000 bond up, and you run out of money, whatever, just put that in the loss column and walk away, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Bonding companies scrutinize that pretty well.
Exactly.
They want to know more than anyone
Yep,
that you're gonna be able to complete this.
exactly.
So, but, on the subject of the site plan, I don't care whether it's a rehearing or what it is, I need something to tell me, we're talking about this fence and the gates and stuff, okay, where is it? And it's not that big a exercise, whatever you want to call it, to get a rudimentary site plan, so I can know whether this is north, south, east, west, what street it fronts on, what you're talking about. Talk about the rear fence.
Yeah.
Where is that? So.
There was an oversight on our part. Some of the board members were here during that, and we forgot that there was a majority of new members that weren't here at the time.
Well, regardless, new
We'll
or
include it.
whatever.
So
If you're discussing this,
Yeah.
go ahead.
You just approved a rehearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we approved the ability for them to
To
come
come
in
back.
and do another one,
To
right?
come back and
Yeah.
get it.
But still, we
There
should
are
add something for us to be
descriptions
able to know what we
there.
do.
Oh, yeah.
If you just come in and say, I want a rehearing, okay, I don't know on what,
Right.
but
In the future, we'll include the original site map so that you can reference what they're proposing.
thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Anyone else? If not, see, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in
Or
favor?
is that second?